So I'm going to start off right away with a grievance that I am filing against the entire church. We need to do a better job of publicizing the idea that Easter is a season, not a day. And I have a very specific reason that I am filing that grievance. I was not able to buy so much as one piece of discount Easter candy this week. Kroger had it all packed up and put away by Monday afternoon. And how great is this great 50 days supposed to be without a little bit of discount chocolate? I would just like to know. So the Easter season runs right up until Pentecost. And we've all heard that before, of course. I found that it's very easy to keep the mood of Easter going right up to Pentecost and even past it. The calendar helps us out with that in the Northern Hemisphere. It's spring. There are reminders of resurrection everywhere we look. You can feel the warmth and see the flowers and very gently touch those little tiny green leaves unfolding themselves. And it just feels like a resurrection season. The belief of Easter, though, that's maybe a little harder to maintain. Last week, we had our beautiful festival day with our Easter bonnets and our lilies and the brass music shouting for joy and all the alleluias that we've been saving up all through Lent. This Sunday, though, this is just a regular Sunday. It actually gets called Low Sunday when it isn't called Thomas Sunday, because this is traditionally the Sunday with the lowest attendance in churches around the world. Although I see that we are bucking that trend today. Congratulations, go Holy Cross. This is the Sunday that embodies the feeling of letdown. It's like the day after Christmas or after your birthday when you were a kid, the day after you get home from a vacation. You've had this wonderful experience and you're grateful for it, but what are you waiting for now? What are you hoping for now? What comes after Easter? And what were the disciples hoping for in that locked room? Peter and the beloved disciples said they had seen Jesus's tomb empty. And Mary Magdalene said she had seen Jesus himself alive and walking outside the tomb. But grief can play tricks. And broken hearts might not be the most reliable witnesses. And sure, Lazarus had seemed to be dead, and now he was walking around just fine. Martha and Mary had told them he had not been a pretty sight, but maybe they had been wrong, and he had just been close to death. And of course, Jesus had told them they would see him again in a little while. But that had to be about the resurrection of the dead that God had promised at the end of time. Dead people don't just get up and stop being dead. So maybe they had some faint hope of seeing Jesus again some way. Maybe he could show up as a ghost. It wouldn't even be the weirdest thing they'd seen him do. But I have to think the highest hope the disciples were able to come up with right then was maybe they could hide out until Passover was done and Jerusalem was back to normal and they could make it back home to Galilee without the authorities rounding them up. And I do mean Roman authorities, not Jewish ones, in spite of what John writes. John's community was bitterly at odds with the local synagogue, so he keeps writing about the Jews like a parent who can't stop bad-mouthing their ex in front of the kids after a nasty divorce. But the strange part about the disciples hiding out, wouldn't it have been easier for them to hide separately? If the Romans were like other colonizers throughout history, they wouldn't even have bothered trying to recognize them. There's one Jewish guy in Passover looks like all the others, if you ask a Roman soldier. Splitting up and going home would have been the easiest way, the safest way. But that is not what the disciples did. They stayed together, stayed in their community of believers. Even when it seemed like there was nothing left to believe, they stayed to believe it or not believe it together. And Thomas stayed too. Even after he missed that first visit of Jesus entirely, when he might have thought the disciples were playing the world's meanest prank, which would have been a very good reason to leave, he stayed. In his own doubt, he found a source of hope in the renewed faith of the other disciples, even though he himself could not yet share it. In the early days of the church, before the bishops created the sophisticated theology of the Nicene Creed, or teachers preparing people for baptism created the words of the Apostles' Creed, the very first Christian creed was so simple. Jesus is Lord. That's it. Nothing about miraculous birth, crucifixion, resurrection, or anything else. The entire newborn faith summed up in 3 words. Jesus is Lord. Thomas stayed in his community with his brothers and sisters, clinging to their faith when he had none left, until Jesus made it possible for him to believe and proclaim, "My Lord and my God." Could the early church have taken their first statement of faith from the man we remember for his doubt? People join church communities and stay in church communities for a lot of reasons, some of which have to do with their faith in God and the way they hope to express it. Some of the reasons have nothing to do with faith at all. People go to church when they're questioning, or for social reasons, or to do good works with a group, or because they think the experience is beautiful. They go to keep company with a believing spouse or friend, or to learn, or to sing. If you are that rare person who has never identified with Thomas and his doubts, someone whose faith has never been shaken, who has never felt like God has been taken from you, I'm happy for you, but I also don't believe you. Like Thomas, I'm going to need some proof. Now, those long days and long nights when faith seems impossible, that's just a human experience. Faith is a process. It isn't a single event. Sometimes we're going to falter along the way. That's where the community holds us up. There was this horrible night back in the before times, and I could not sleep because my brain kept going back and forth in existential crisis mode. I kept thinking, what if we're wrong and there's no God and no soul and nothing after death? And then I'd think, what if we're wrong about God being a loving God and all the horrible interpretations of God throwing sinners into the fiery flames are the right ones? And this was a Saturday night. So my alarm went off Sunday morning and I dragged myself out of bed and wondered, is it even worth going to church today? But I had practiced the music, so I may as well go sing, and it would be nice to see everyone and just be with the congregation after such a rough night, especially after such a rough night. And guess what? I felt better afterwards for being part of the community. I couldn't reach my own faith that morning, but I had faith in your faith. And that morning, that was enough. Like Thomas in the locked house, counting on the faith of others to keep him in community and keep him in hope, that was enough until I could accept what the Spirit was trying to give me. The faith of the community is a hand helping us back up when the faith of the individual stumbles. So blessed are those who have not seen, yet have come to be part of the community. And blessed are those who have not seen, yet have come because they need help to believe. Amen.